Greetings from Helsinki, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. Before we dive into the content, it's important to go through the terms and conditions concerning my presentation. I wish that when you listen to my presentation, you know that it will include a lot of rough generalizations. I generally speak through strong stereotypes, and the presentation may also include a load of obviousnesses. The presentation may also include traces of smart assery, hypocrisy, and concerning the time that we all live now, few blows from the horn of doomsday. But what is most important is for you to know that I'm not going for the quote-unquote objective truth in my presentation. It's a subjective presentation, a collection of thoughts and perceptions about the world, about change, about people. And I won't be talking about businesses, sales, or education, but about the world that surrounds us all. So preferably something that I feel is important to say to you today at this time in the world. The tool that goes with me along that journey is a term that I often use called the feel of life. The feel of life to describe the general feeling that people have in their life. During the past year, many of the issues concerning people's feel of life have been common to us all. I mean, if the last year would have been a movie, a year ago today we lived in the phase that would have been the Independence Day phase, meaning that we had an external threat that unified humankind and galvanized nations to support our leaders and so on. After last spring, then most of Europe had a surprise summer of love or summer of freedom when it was really, really nice after that terrible spring. But then came autumn and the second wave and the sequel that no one wanted, no one needed, that was way too long and bored as us all. Then became November, and that's when New Hope was released through the announcement by Pfizer that a vaccine had been discovered. But that New Hope really didn't last that long, because then came January and things started to fall apart. People started fighting and bickering about decisions that were being made or vaccinations, should they be used or shouldn't they be used, are they safe or not, and who gets to go first, and so on. And that lasted and still lasts a long time. But then came another spring, and the feeling was as if we were all stuck in an abyss of emptiness. It's like the famous author Adam Grant wrote a few weeks ago on the New York Times in an article that was titled, "There's a name for the blah that you're feeling right now. It's called languishing." It's a very good word, to languish, as in a prison. Even after these common thoughts and common emotions and feelings, there's a number of us who still say out loud that I can't wait for all of this to be over. And when this is over, then I'll do this and then I'll do that. But I think a part of the languishing feeling is really about the fact that most of us know that even after Corona is gone, we'll be returning to the world that was before Corona. And that wasn't such a nice place either. We still have these the ever-deepening polarization of the world, unrest within and between nations. There seems to be going a deep crisis of democracy throughout all of the Western world. And we all know that after Corona is over, there will be a bill to pay. So there will be a hefty crisis of the economy. And on top of all of these lies like a blanket the awareness of the coming climate crisis. So if you count all of these together, you get a glimpse of some of the things that one of the most brilliant thinkers in the world, Polish-British sociologist Zygmunt Bauman, wrote in his book called Liquid Fear. The concept of liquid fear means that for any one in the world, a overlaying feeling that is present in your life is that life feels as if something bad is about to happen. That's the certainty that you have. But you don't know what it is, you don't know when it is, and most of all, you don't know if you could do anything to prevent it. Life feels like as if if life was a movie, there would be an ominous soundtrack around it. That sounds pretty scary. And that is an unbearable feeling for people, the uncertainty. And that's why people are enraged. They cannot stand the level of uncertainty. They don't find it in themselves to accept the fact that, as it says in the t-shirt, shit happens. Because no, it can't be so. Shit doesn't just happen. It has to be so that shit gets done by someone. This has to be someone's fault. All that is happening in the world. I've shown this picture to a number of people. And no matter who the people were, I mean, were they employers or employees, men or women, cyclists or car drivers, vegetarians or meat eaters and so on, they all feel that the little boy in the picture, it's me. And I'm being thrown around by the powerful them. What I think that reality is that during the past 20 years, it's been so that we are all the little boy being thrown around. And life and the world is the big powerful thing throwing us around. So what it should really say on the t-shirt is, I hate this shit. So in conclusion to the first part, if the feel of life would have been painted as a picture, I'm quite sure that the picture would look like it was painted by Hieronymus Bosch in the Middle Ages. It would look like this. It would make no sense. There's a saying that has been thrown around a lot during Corona. The saying that we're all in this boat together. But in all honesty, that's not quite true, is it? Because, yes, the storm, it is the same for everyone. But we each have a little different kind of a boat with a different kind of a seaworthiness in which we try to manage through this crisis. So, why am I telling you all of this? Well, that's because of the stereotypes and the rough generalizations. Because I feel that in a number of instances, no matter what your age is or how long have you been in the business or are you even in the business, there's quite a number of stereotypes still ruling the act of selling and salesmanship. And to contradict these stereotypes about the values and about the personality of salespeople, I want to talk to you about empathy. Empathy, as it is explained in the Harvard Business Review, empathy is a deep emotional intelligence that is closely connected to cultural competence. Empathy enables those who possess it to see the world through others' eyes and understand their unique perspectives. So, from a salesperson's point of view, it's a superpower. It's the ability to learn to think about other people, to think as if, what if this happened to you? The ability to think, to feel what others feel is paramount because you're not selling to yourself. You're not selling to your peers. You're selling to every kinds of people there are. But if one was to take a closer look at generations Y and Z, one might refer to the famous article published in Time magazine titled "The Me Generation," telling us what generations Y and Z are really like. I'm paraphrasing here, but the story in the article and in numerous articles ever since, it goes about so. We're talking about a digital generation born in the 90s or after that will change everything in the workplace. Their sense of shame, their humility and modesty have all been removed forever. They plow through all obstacles, ignoring all hierarchy, with a growing hunger for purpose and revolutions, continuously moving from an inspiring project to another while celebrating their own individuality. I'm not even denying this. This is very much possible that it's so, but it's just the one side of the coin. Because on the other side of the coin, we find the story that says that young people today, they have exceptionally few siblings. They have exceptionally few in real life deep and close relationships, no steady romantic attachments, no kids, and as researched, they are exceptionally lonely in comparison to generations before. So they are the me generation just because they have been denied being the we generation. And the birth of the we generation, it's even more difficult these days because of what happens online right now. I'm talking about the distortion of other people. Before Corona, it used to be so that we got about 90% of our perceptions of other people from the real world, and about 10% of our perceptions about other people online. Meaning 90% of your perceptions were face-to-face contacts wherever, in your hobbies, in school, over the counter, and so on. And you learned what people were like. Now what has happened during Corona is that due to the isolation and due to the social distancing, those numbers have changed places. Now 90% of our perceptions come from the online and 10% max from the real world. And this has brought about a common social occurrence that many of us have lived through. It's the point where you go online and you read your social media feed, and then again you come up with this friend of yours that totally baffles you. You think that such a smart guy and a good friend, and now this terrible extreme comments online and shouting on the internet. What happened? What's wrong with him? What's gotten into him? What I mean is, how we see other people determines everything. The thought that, like my friend, everybody seems to have gone crazy, it really may not be due to the changes in people, but it may be due to changes on how we see other people, and based on what do we draw our own conclusions. Everyone knows by heart and by brain that what you read online, it's not the truth. It's not the whole truth. It's not even half of the truth of the people. But when 90% of your perceptions come from the online world, you start to wonder, could it be true? And that calls for trust. There's a good litmus test for the occurrence of trust. If you remember litmus tests, what you used to do on chemistry classes, where you would dip the strip of paper in some substance to find out its acidity. The litmus test for trust between people is the question when someone else looks at you as a person, looks at you as a salesperson, looks at you as a professional or whatever. And in their mind, they'll ask the question, if those people got to decide on their own, would they want good things for us? If the answer to the question is, yeah, they probably would, then there's trust. If the answer is, well, I don't really know, that's mistrust. But the scale doesn't stop there. It's trust, mistrust, and suspicion. Suspicion, which is the dominant emotion in the world today. It's the thought that if that person got to decide on their own, they would destroy me, or they would cheat me, they would hurt me. This is the emotion that all of us have to fight against. And you do it by being trustworthy. There are two more important questions determining the level of trust. One is, as a person, as a professional, are you seen as believable and credible as an operator to achieve what needs to be done? Meaning, are you considered good in the job that you do by the customers? And do you seem to have any idea what is essential in their life and how they feel? Meaning, do you have the superpower, empathy? Can you feel what people feel? And do people sense that you understand how they feel? So my question to you today is, if you got to decide on your own, would you want good things for your customers? It's quite an important question. See, future, it is not shaped by how things are now. The future is shaped by what we do. And what we do is determined by how we see other people. The importance of empathy and the feel of life is easily understood if you understand that decisions, they are always made through emotion, but they are later explained through reason. I firmly believe that we are all here to serve others, not to serve as a king is served, but to help others achieve more, to get better in something. And what I would most like to remind you of is that no matter if you are a business, a student, an entrepreneur, or a product, or just a human being, in the end of life, all that is left of any of us are markings on other people. Be kind. Thank you. Bye-bye.